What is going on, guys? Mr. Basie here, and today we're going to be doing some more Seduce Me to the Demon War. Now, I've been away for a little while. I do apologize. I'm probably going to be going ahead and doing a separate video kind of explaining in more detail what that's all about and why and kind of how that's going to turn out. But just know that, you know, I'm trying to get back into the normal schedule. I had to kind of work some things out in my personal life, but now I'm trying to, you know, ease back into a new schedule. And hopefully in roughly about a month, maybe a month and a half at the max probably, you know, the productivity will return to normal, like completely, like I won't have any problems, or it might even get better. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. There's a very strong possibility of it actually getting better, again, on my end, and I can do even more stuff, which is pretty cool. So hopefully you guys can bear with me through that, but aside from that, we're going to jump right into it. I just wanted to make a quick announcement in all the newer videos that I'm making, until I make that, you know, formal announcement video about kind of what happened and what's going on, and we'll see how much information I want to disclose, but essentially just know that I'm okay, everything is alright, there's no problem or trouble or issue. I just need to kind of work those things out before I proceeded with any more YouTube stuff. But, you know, I got to tell you, I was stressing the whole time. I really wanted to get back to this, really wanted to get back to content creation, and of course I was reading all your guys' comments the whole time. As many of you know, I was responding to a lot of you. I didn't respond to the Seduce Me comments, but I did read them because I have to respond to them to know that I was like, okay, yeah, I added that person to the giveaway. That's kind of how I know mentally that I did that. But I did read everyone's comments, just so you guys know. Speaking of that, somebody wanted to help me with the Erik playthrough. Thank you for that. I'm going to go back and look at that because I want to get the good ending so we can move on to our next you know, Incubus, which I do have to calculate the votes for, so I'll leave that as a surprise, because that's going to happen later in the video. Right now, we're going to finish up the Erik playthrough, so let me really quick go back, look at what I need to do for that, and hopefully that yields us the good ending, and then we'll pick up with the new Incubus right after that. Alright guys, so I'll show the exact comment that kind of listed out all the choices. I don't know if it's going to work because I haven't tried it yet, but if it does work, full credit to that person for helping me out, because that probably would have taken me forever. But I did actually, from what I can see, get really close to the, you know, the ending, like the good ending. I missed like one or two like choices that I did not choose like in the correct order, from what I can tell. So that's pretty crazy that it came down to like such a finite detail. But in any case, hopefully this works. There are many other comments similar to this, so don't worry. But this was the one particularly that I followed to make sure that I got everything right in the right order. But there were a bunch of them, including this one, which I thought was pretty funny. It was pretty generic and pretty generalized. But I mean, basically that is what you had to do. So let's go ahead and I think the last one was grab Diana was the very last choice. So there was no way I was gonna let Orabelle hurt her, sister or not. I rushed forward and grabbed Diana by the horns, pulling her back as fast as I could. Okay. Diana gripped onto my hands, digging her nails into my skin, but I didn't care. I needed to bring her away from the incoming enemy. As I dragged her back, Orabelle watched, unamused by my intrusion. I could only glare back. Despite Diana flailing in my hands, she wouldn't take her away. I wouldn't let her. I finally released Diana's horns and stepped forward, placing myself between the two sisters. I won't let you hurt her! Orabelle loomed towards us, filling me with dread. The stench of the Demon Lord's corpse became unbearable. Oh, that's just delicious. Despite not being dead long. I still had no energy to fight, the realization making me step back from the undead Demon Lord.
You hurt me!
No. Okay.
Now I'll hurt you!
Please don't. Okay, you hurt me twice. I literally got shafted 2 times already. Orabelle picked up the Demon Lord's broken blade parts and slammed them together. Fusing them. I don't think this is in the same order. This doesn't feel like it's going the same way, so hopefully that's a good sign. Fusing them back into one sword with her energy. How was that possible? She was a spurt. Orabelle then started to charge at us, raising the sword barely over Erik's and my head. Oh, Wii Piece action, hopefully. I prepared to defend, but was blocked by the back of Erik's head, and a wave of ethereal, well, Wii Pieces, basically. All at once, the tendrils grabbed hold of the sword and forced it away. Now, please, just for a moment, guys, just indulge me for a second. Why couldn't he have done that before? You're telling me that he blocked all of his attacks. He's got freaking Wii Pieces flailing around and basically making like a Wii Piece vortex around him. He couldn't have done that before? Come on, man. That's scrub-a-dub. Just because I didn't like hold your arm one time or something like that. Around Erik's body was a deep aura of red and purple mist, swirling in the air and wrapping around his summoned wing pieces. As he stepped forward, Oribel surprisingly stepped back. I mean, yeah, okay. Well, thank you for blocking with your very, very strong virility. With a snarl, Oribel lunged at Erik, trying to wrap her arms around him, but was pushed away by Erik's wing pieces. Oribel and Erik charged at one another. Oribel gripped to Erik's outstretched tendrils, wing pieces, and began to push at each other. The wounds on the Demon Lord's body began to open and bleed further. That's great. Causing it to quake as it pushed against Erik's strength.
You won't last long in that body. Give up.
Shut up! Shut up!
Okay, damn. With her screams, Oribel knocked away the wing pieces before her and managed to get close to Erik, but not without impaling herself on traps Erik placed around him, which caused spikes to shoot up and into the rotten body of the Demon Lord. Disgusted at the sight and smell, Erik used his tendrils damn, you smell like shit to shove Oribel off of him and towards the opposite end of the room, where Oribel slid and rolled against the marble, painting it red and black with blood. Quickly, Oribel jumped back up and began to howl and scream, her cries filling the room and making it quake violently. Why is she so pissed at Diana? She did her best. I held my head, trying to block out the sound, but her cries began to fill my head with dissonant pain. Erik, in defiance, sprayed a volley of, I believe wing pieces, these are still wing pieces I'm sure, of wing pieces at her. All landed on target. The wing pieces remained in the corpse. Gross. But Oribel continued to move, desperate to fight back with everything she had. What was wrong with her? How was she able to keep going? Were spirits really that powerful? I quickly grabbed Diana, pulling her up to her feet, and ran to the corner of the room, needing to be in the room still to help Erik, but desperate to keep Oribel away from Diana.
Oribel!
Why are you still She tried to kill you! It's time to freaking let her go. Diana began to flail and fight back, but I dug my nails into Diana's sides, damn, forcing her back with gritted teeth. Diana, move! As Diana's back hit the corner of the room, I could hear Erik release a grunt of pain, causing me to look over my shoulder to see what had happened. Erik, having knocked away a slash from Oribel's sword, unfortunately couldn't block a fist from sending Erik flying at the wall. Oh, come on now. Erik's body slammed into the stone and he fell onto the ground, gasping for air and curled over himself from the pain. Erik! I instantly rushed over and knelt at Erik's side, wrapping an arm over him as he slowly began to rise back up.
I'm fine, princess.
I shook my head and looked to Orbi, seeing her slowly make her way towards us. I was certain that the body she was using was drained of any blood, yet she managed to keep it moving with her own energy. Why would she need the blood in it anyway, to keep it going? I don't know. It was morbidly disgusting to see, but I was forced to bear witness as it came closer to where we were. What are we gonna do? Erik and I looked to each other, desperate to find an answer to each other's eyes. However, one finally appeared in my mind. According to Diana, when I had Orbi within me, what? I was overflowing with energy. What? If I was still standing, then I still had some left. There wasn't enough for me to fight, but there was enough to give to Erik to possibly help him. I suddenly grabbed Erik's face and kissed him, willing my energy into his body. Erik, despite naturally accepting it, what a sly dude, stared wide-eyed at me in surprise. You really gonna talk with your mouth full of my whatever? I didn't want to pass out, so I pulled away and began to feel lightheaded. I hoped and prayed that it was enough energy to end this fight, so I smiled at Erik, nodding to him. Finish this so we can go home. I quickly collapsed onto my hands, panting for air. The room began to spin, but I had to shake it off. I had to see this through. Erik gazed at me before nodding and turning to Orbi, who was halfway across the room now. Slowly, Erik rose to his feet and summoned his mob of wing pieces, each dancing and waving like angry snakes in the air. Well, alright, he's excited.
You've been in my way for long enough, spirit.
Damn. Walking forward, Erik lashed out his wing pieces at Orbi, whipping and snapping at the body she was possessing and forcing it back. Despite her attempts to block and force them away, every so often, a wing piece would fly from Erik's ring of wing pieces, piercing into Oribel like a skewer. Delicious. As Erik passed the Demon Lord's sword, he reached down and picked it up, surprisingly with ease. I could barely stand, gripping onto the wall as I watched Erik lift the sword to his side.
You possessed my wife, brought her to this world, and dared to attack her, all because of what my father did to you. Pitiful.
Damn. Orby let out a threatening and frightening shout, lurching forward to try and tackle Erik, but was pushed away by the Demon Lord's blade and Erik's wing pieces, causing her to knock into and collapse one of the nearby pillars. Orby slowly rose. She's still going! This is ridiculous, pushing the debris off her, before glaring hard at Erik. Erik glared back in kind before raising his father's blade up and to his side, preparing to charge forward with it to plunge into her.
I will send you to purgatory and free you from your suffering.
That doesn't sound like freeing anyone from suffering. Purgatory's probably not a fun place, man. Have you ever seen Supernatural? With one last cry, Erik ran and thrust the Demon Lord's sword forward into Orby, causing her to cry out. I mean, keep in mind, we're literally fighting a little kid. I mean, we just literally dominated a little kid. I mean, she was kind of a bitch, but, you know. The room began to vibrate and quake, causing me to cover my head. However, Erik released the hilt of the sword and rushed back to me. Damn, that's all it took? One stab? A bright light filled the room, blinding Erik and I. Erik gripped onto me, trying to cover my body with his, but the white color of the flash invaded my vision. Silence slowly consumed the air as my world became blank like a can— Oh no, am I blind? I looked up at last to see the spirit orb bobbing up and down in the air.
You saved me. Thank you. You freed me at last.
I'm not buying this. You could have just left. Instead, you had to take revenge on your sister for, like, not being around? Orby. Oh, now we're sympathetic. I literally got shafted twice. I'm not sympathetic. The orb spun around itself once, releasing a small giggle. Oh, so cute. It seemed overjoyed, despite what had just happened earlier. Yeah, I know, right? You got shafted like I did. Now you're happy? I wasn't happy. This is a weird world we live in. Had Orabel been under some sort of corruption?
I can finally go home.
That best not be back inside me.
Orabel.
Oh, you're here too? I turned my head to see Dinah slowly walking forward to be by my side. Staring at the orb in both sadness and relief, Orabel floated over to hover in front of Diana, a soft line of sadness in her own voice.
Sorry, big sister, I
was just jealous of your boobs.
It's alright. You're free now.
Well, good for you. Diana wrapped her arms around Orby, laying her cheek softly on the orb as it flickered a warm glow. The air was calm, and the love between Diana and Orby seemed to hum with the orb's light. However, Diana was still alive, and I could tell that this was her final goodbye to the sister she never got to meet. It was heartwarming, as well as bitter. Why can't you just go into her womb? You should become her womb spirit, you know what I'm saying? But Diana deserved proper closure with the sister she grew to love.
Tell Mother and Father that I'm alright, okay?
Are they good? Last I heard of them, they were all over the room in chunks.
I will.
Fuck are you? Diana and I suddenly looked into the light around us, hearing a man's voice. Orby spun around in a circle, letting out a happy gasp.
Father? Father!
Orby quickly left Diana's arms, oh damn, she just straight dissed her, and began to fly into the bright light, but stopped and spoke once more.
Take care of the world, okay? You're everyone's mother now, sister.
Diana grinned and chuckled a bit, stray tears falling down the sides of her face.
I'll do my best.
Awesome.
Bye-bye, human!
Really? How long in my womb and I'm just human to you? I had a name. I mean, seriously. Bye! We're all happy and shit. I couldn't help waving as the orb finally faded away into the light. As the world returned me to the Great Hall, I found myself still wrapped in Erik's arms. I looked up to see him staring down at me in worry without his wing pieces out, like I had passed out. Erik?
Love, are you alright?
I'm Gucci. I nodded. I was alright now. The battle was over and I was free to return home. Great sacrifices were made, but it was all over now. I was gonna go home. Diana, who had been sitting in the corner of the room, braced her knees to her chest, taking in what had happened as well. I was positive that she was truly there with me to say goodbye to Orabel. So she had to recuperate. Always! This guy just comes out of fucking... Like, he's literally, like, completely absent the whole time. I mean, Diana literally died in two scenarios, my dude. Like, where were you? At her voice, a soft flash of light pulsed in front of her before revealing Sarah, out of breath.
My lady!
You just beaten off or something? That's where you were? Despite being out of breath, Sarah quickly dropped to his knees and wrapped his arms around Diana.
I was on my way to tell you. We've won! We forced the enemy to dissolve and surrender and...
No shit we won. We defeated the Demon Lord.
Shut up.
Oh. Sarah flinched before Diana wrapped her arms around his chest and pulled him tightly against her.
Just hold me.
Right here, just again on the cold ass linoleum. Like, we can leave first. You know what I'm saying? Sarah started. Ew, what the frick? Sarah started down at Diana before nodding and embracing her, resting his head against hers comfortingly. I could barely hear soft sobbing from her, but I was glad to know that Sarah was there for her. I looked up at Erik and smiled before kissing him, relishing in the victory of the rebellion and the release of my curse. I was finally going home. It was over. The war. I know. Let's just do it already. As the smoke cleared, we were victorious. The soldiers left standing were the ones to cheer in victory. The sky became littered with the howls and cries of the joyful and happy. The tyranny of the Demon Lord had ended. But what now? Home was now possible. We could go back to the human world and we could live our lives as we wanted. It was something I desperately wanted, and yet my body was not ready to make the journey just yet. What do you mean? We had to celebrate the... Oh, here we go. It's literally, I'm telling you, you could accidentally trip on like a beer bottle or something and just like impale yourself. As the full moon rose over Lilith Castle towards the dawn, the entirety of the demon world celebrated with endless drink and food, laughter and dancing. It was so unreal, but the courtyard that I could see was filled with smiles and happy faces. We had stayed we had stayed for one more night, traveling back to Lilith Castle to rest and return home as healthy as we could be. After all, we had just gone through war. One more night in the demon world wasn't going to hurt us. Alright, I'm always skeptical of that. While the majority of the rebellion danced in the courtyard, I remained with the incubi and the rebel leaders, who were all in the royal hall having their own celebration. Damn, they're not even celebrating with their own troops? That's pretty fucked up. Drinks were shared and battle stories were exchanged, making some laugh and others roll their eyes. I found myself intrigued at the story Sergeant told about the front line. We're not going to learn. As I looked to Diana, however, she simply kept quiet with a small smile on her face. She looked at the incubi and the rebel leaders in silence before walking away from the little party we had. As if she knew I was staring at her, Diana looked over at me and slightly gestured with her head to follow her. Diana led me through the castle, up a couple sets of stairs, into what looked to be a royal bedroom with a balcony. Was this a guest room? It was untouched, and I could smell the very faint scent of dust. Ew, you couldn't have cleaned up before you took me here? Why did she bring me here?
We've been fighting the Demon Lord for so long. We thought the war would never end. As terrible as the circumstance was, if you hadn't been summoned here, we probably would have still been fighting now.
I mean, I didn't do that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I crossed off some imps. I guess that helped, right? Yeah, it's a flower. Okay, so we already saw this. This is the headdress thing. Okay, so let's skip to the end of where we see Erik. Let's do that.
Her natural heart of gold led her to lead the world to a prosperous future, one filled with peace and happiness.
Great!
The other rebel leaders supported her, eventually changing the caste system of the world and slowly working their way towards a plane as equal and peaceful as it could be.
Well, that's great, especially considering how they were plotting to straight kill her.
Diana had her suspicions, of course, as any monarch would, but if they had any sort of bad thoughts about her before, they certainly didn't during the recreation of the world.
Thank goodness.
And I believe that is everything that happened after, well, except for your story anyway.
Great, let's figure it out.
Erik and you returned home, and since everything was taken care of before he found you, you got ready for the actual wedding. Huh? How do I know?
Yeah, let's just find out. Our lives escalated to new heights after we officially became husband and wife. Erik started a chain of suit shops and had become a very powerful man in the fashion business industry. It was rather hilarious to see him square up James every fitting he needed with a smirk of equal standing to his once upper tier brother. What? He's a CEO of a company. I'm pretty sure he's still got a bit more power than him. As for me, I began to go through my own success in life, dedicating myself to becoming exactly what I wanted to be. After all, my husband had made a name for himself in the fashion world. If I put the same amount of work in as I did in the demon world, then I was going to be alright. However, there was never a day that went by that I didn't think about what was happening in the Abyssal Plains. It was a heavy chapter of my life, one that tested the love between me and Erik. Yeah, it really did. I died like 8 times. To think that I was under the influence of a child who needed to be set free still astounded me to no end. For a moment, I myself almost believed that I was pregnant instead. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. Still, I was confident that we would get through it and stay together no matter what came our way. Demon, devil, spirit, it didn't matter to us. We were unstoppable together. The faint memory of my own power slightly tingled through me every time I grew confident, eagerly reminding me that I had strength of my own. I would never let anyone come between me and Erik ever again. Can she use this? Can she use those powers in the human world? I mean, I'm assuming she can because, you know, the demons were like summoning, you know, Malik summoned his pistol in the previous game and James did too, you know. So maybe we can straight go invis. That'd be cool. The thoughts of it all echoed in my mind as I sat in bed, looking up at the ceiling with a wide smile on my face. Despite the dangers being real, the war was an adventure fun to look back upon in my memories. I took in a breath and let out a sigh, leaning back against the bedpost and closing my eyes. I was at peace and everything was alright.
Princess?
Bro, why do you look like you're literally about to do something really bad to me? What's going on? I opened my eyes at the sound of my pet name, looking up to see Erik at the door, smiling. Oh, this is different. Everyone else was lying down, smiling at me and holding a plate of food. Unlike the demon world, this world had the makings of pastries, eggs, bacon, and sausage, and other delicious concoctions made for the early morning. We're aware. As I took in the sight of all my favorite foods on the plate in Erik's hand, I licked my lips and let out a happy hum. Hey, that looks delicious.
And it's all for you.
Damn, what? You're not having anything? I was squealing internally. What the fuck? Feeling a bit spoiled at the treatment he was giving me. As he walked over and sat on the edge of the bed, Erik handed me the plate and watched as I accepted it and took a bite of what he offered, groaning at the amazing taste. With a smile, I took some of it onto the fork that was on the plate and offered it to Erik, seeing him stare at me in slight surprise before smiling and taking the bite, licking his lips after. Thank you, Erik, you spoil me.
Anything for you, my sweet princess.
I giggled at the name, nuzzling Erik's hand as it came up to caress my cheek lovingly. His hands were always so soft and warm. What the fuck? Perfect to hold me and make me feel loved and safe. I opened an eye to look up at him cutely, seeing him blush with a smile of his own.
I would happily do anything for you.
Anything?
Anything. Just name it.
I cupped his hand and gently placed a kiss over his palm, feeling him stare in surprise at the gesture. I could almost hear the blush on his face intensify. You can hear that shit? You realize what she's saying. She's hearing the blood rush into his cheeks. That's kind of gross, girl. Before I even looked back at him to confirm it. He was red as an apple. Perfect. Ew. I giggled again and nuzzled his hand, almost laying my head on it. Be with me forever. It took a small, cute moment for Erik to regain his composure before nodding, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear.
Forever and always.
Fabulous. Hold me every day and every night.
As close as I can hold you to me.
Damn, you need a cramp. Sweet waves of joy rushed through me every answer he gave, confirming his devotion and love for me. I was so lucky to have him as my own, and I could tell that he believed himself to be the lucky one. In honesty, we were both the lucky ones, perfectly blending together and devoting ourselves to each other without second thoughts. We proved it in the demon world, and we would prove it for the rest of our lives. I gently pulled Erik towards me, moving the plate between us to the nightstand, smiling as he came close before capturing his lips with mine in a loving kiss. He was definitely surprised, but it wasn't long before he began to kiss back just as passionately. The gentle taste of roses and rain what the fuck? Always made me feel at peace, and I always managed to find it on Erik's lip. What? You just have that on your lips? He was my perfect prince, and I was his loving princess. Our mansion was a castle, and the human world was our kingdom to explore. What history could have been better? As we gently pulled away, we gazed into each other's eyes, becoming lost in them. All I could see in his purple irises were waves of love and care, filling my heart with everlasting peace. I began to wonder what he saw in my eyes. Whatever it was, he became entranced and could do nothing but wrap his free arm around me, pulling me to him lovingly.
Everything in my life belongs to you. My heart, my body, my soul. Everything. I swear to give you...
What do you swear to give me? What the fuck happened? Hold on.
Everything. I swear to give you...
He doesn't swear to give me anything. Did you see that? He literally just, he was about to say something sweet and then he stopped. He didn't want to say it. He couldn't go through with it. Oh my god. Nothing will tear me away from you. Alright, well, I'll finish your sentence for you, dude. Erik. With a tender kiss on my forehead, Erik's expression softened to a gaze of deep love.
I love you, princess. I love you so much.
Fabulous. I believed every word. I let his words embed themselves into my heart, and I would remember them forever. As Erik kissed me again, locking lips with mine, he sealed his words. I would love him and continue to hold him close for the rest of my life. Nothing would be able to tear me away from him any longer. And that was my perfect happily ever after. And hopelessly devoted to you. Sweet. I'm glad. That was good. That was a better ending than getting skewered twice. Is that what happened? I don't remember. I think either we got chopped in half or we got stabbed. I don't remember. Either way, that was better. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We're going to be moving on to the next one. I'm going to go tally up the votes real quick. And then we'll see exactly who will be next. Again, we have Matthew, Damien, and Diana left. And I'm pretty sure I did the giveaway last time. If I didn't, I'll get you guys next time. Pretty sure I did it last time. If I remember correctly, I gave it away anyway for the code. So we're going to be doing, we have 3 more left, right? Yeah, we have 3 more left. All right, so let me go do that real quick and we'll see what we're going to be doing next. I don't even know yet, so it's going to be a surprise. All right, guys, so next up is going to be Matthew. He got the votes by a little bit more than, you know, the majority. He got 15, Damien got 11, and Diana got 6. So again, right now you can drop your comments down below because starting now in this video up until the end of this of Matthew's playthrough, I will be counting the votes for the next one. So all that's left is Diana and Damien. So whoever you want to have for next time will be voted. They're just going to be added to the existing list. So as of right now, Damien does have 11 votes. Diana does have 6. So you guys can throw your votes in and we'll see who gets the next playthrough from there on out. But really quick, before we begin, I want to say thank you guys so much for all your support and all your comments. I will be going back and responding to all those comments. I may have done that already based on when this video goes up. But just know that I did go back and respond to all those comments. There are a large majority that I missed, and I want to add those. There's some that I missed on purpose because, again, I do want to, you know, respond to those comments only when I am putting their name onto the list, so I actually know, like, yeah, I got that person on the list. That's kind of how I know that I've added them. You know, so that's just like a mental check for myself. But aside from that, there are a bunch of other comments that didn't have anything to do with the giveaway that I did miss because I was so busy before. But I want to say I appreciate and thank you guys for all the love and support. Again, you know, surprisingly, I really did expect to see some subscribers drop and see some people be fairly upset with my absence, but nobody really came to me and said that. Actually, nobody did. More people were just kind of concerned about what was going on and if I was okay and all that stuff, and I appreciate that. I'm sorry I didn't give you guys any definitive information, but again, there should be a video more accurately and more detailing, more I guess detail that will describe that stuff. But thank you for the support, thank you for understanding. With that being said, let's jump right into Matthew's playthrough and see. And this is one I'm actually particularly excited about. I don't remember why. There was a specific reason why I was excited about this. I don't remember what it is, but I'm excited about it. So let's just jump right into it and see what Matthew's playthrough is like. Alright, so as usual, if you want to see the previous, I guess the intro to this, because they are all the same as the demo, which I've already done, so you can click on the video up above. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you check that out first. It's got pretty much the entire intro, which has, and now that I've gone through it, I remember why I was interested in Matthew's playthrough, because he's really dastardly for some reason. I don't know why. He just looks really, really dastardly. But anyway, you'll see all that in the demo that I've already played through. There's like a sex scene there, in which the more, you know, the dastardliness is very, very well demonstrated. I'll say that. But yeah, so you can see all that there, and then we're basically picking up where all the boys drop in from the human world into the demon world with all their wives again. Why? I don't know. I'm not even gonna speculate on why, but it's proved to be fairly funny, especially Cat Leggings Girl, which used to be his wife, but apparently that's us now. So that's we're not gonna see her anymore. So I can't hound on her cat leggings anymore. Maybe I'm wearing them. Who knows? Maybe that's his like fetish or something. But anyway, we're gonna move on. We're gonna continue here. I watched as the boys and the girls finally planted themselves on the ground before looking around. However, Matthew instantly bolted from me, causing Dinah to jump away in surprise. Matthew wrapped his arms around me, and I instinctively tensed up from being charged at before taking in his scent in physical form. He was here. I wasn't dreaming. He really came for me, and he was here holding me.
Are you okay? Are you hurt?
I'm fine. I almost couldn't believe it, but I wrapped my arms around Matthew's torso, pulling him tighter to me as I took in one more whiff of his scent. Ew, just sniffing. However, before I could melt into his arms in relief at his presence, he was forcefully dragged backwards.
Hold it, hold it, hold it!
Damn, Faye, what are you doing?
Whoa!
Huh? I watched as the fairy figure gripped Matthew's hoodie and roughly pulled him away from me with an angered face. Wait, hold on.
Matthew!
Damn, what? Before anyone could react, Matthew spun around and swiped at the fairy. They squeaked and released. What do you mean that? Oh, someone explained this to me. I don't remember why it's they. But squeaked and released him, floating higher into the air.
Hands off!
You
What the frick? Are you like an ex or something? I quickly rushed over and held Matthew's hand, wanting to bring his attention away from the fairy and back to me. Oh damn, let's just rub it in her face. I reached up and grabbed Matthew's face, pulling him to me and kissing him. His eyes stared in shock before he melted against my lips and held my head in his hands, kissing me deeper. I closed my eyes in sync with his as I lowered my hands and wrapped them around his shoulders. I was beyond happy to feel him again. At that moment, I didn't even care how he had found me. I was just happy that he was there with me again. Unfortunately, Matthew and I couldn't stay close for long. The fairy's shouting caused us to pull apart to look at them.
He has the same aura as the Demon Lord!
Dude, are you kidding? Like, did you not examine everyone? They all do. Rubbing her head and glaring at the fairy, Dinah stepped up, crossing her arms and rubbing her temple.
Well, he is the son of the Demon Lord.
That's not what I meant! I'm saying...
Come on, let's get you home.
Matthew gently took my hand and tugged me towards his brothers. However, this time, Dinah stepped in front of Matthew.
I'm afraid she can't leave.
And why not?
She's been cursed. She can't leave this plane without dying.
Great.
But if you wish to kill your bride to bring her back to the human world, then be my guest.
That face, dude. Matthew glared at Diana and stepped in front of me protectively.
Why should I believe you?
It's true, Matthew. The Demon Lord cursed me so I can't leave. I placed my hand on Matthew's shoulder, causing him to turn his head and look at me in surprise. His expression morphed from anger to sudden fear.
What? You can't be serious.
Ew, why do you look happy about this? Like she's really smirking. Either that or she just, she farted and concealed it and she's happy that no one noticed or something.
We are, but don't worry. We plan to kill the one who cursed her soon enough.
It's weird that she just stands there like that now.
Lumen infere, bellum tabescere.
Oh wow, that looks really good on you.
You can't have it, okay? I know that tone. You cannot have my outfit. I blushed, getting used to the feel of the outfit. The corset wasn't tight, but it was still something new along with the rest of the garb. Matthew, however, smiled down at me and kissed over my forehead.
You look really cute.
He's the only dude that didn't like get a boner over this. Thanks. I hope you guys know that maybe you've seen this over the course of time, but Faye was kind of cool, like kind of chill with me in the beginning, but over the course of time, I grew to not like her so much because she was always talking shit, always. She was talking shit with Sarah, she was talking shit with I don't know, she's always talking with somebody and it's always negative. So I don't know why she's like that, but I ended up not liking her because of that. But either way, just take me to my damn room. Stepping in, Matthew looked around in slight awe.
Whoa. Awesome digs.
Awesome digs? What? Matthew, come on now. What is this? I had to giggle at Matthew's surprise. It was almost like we had stepped into a hotel on a vacation, except this one was forced on us until the end of the Civil War. It was mildly messed up, but it was a situation we had to deal with. I walked over to the bed and sat down, letting out a sigh at feeling the softness underneath me. The bed was still as comfy as last night. Matthew, however, began to walk around the room, taking in the sight of the decor.
This is a really fancy room. I wonder what room the others got.
Probably a shittier one. I smiled, watching Matthew ponder for a moment before replying to his statement. Yeah, apparently. This is the open ambassador's room. I was able to sleep here when I arrived. Matthew stared at me, dumbfounded for a moment before slapping his forehead and shaking his head.
Right. Time's different here. Holy crap. I forgot about that.
And this is really different because in all the other ones, the other dudes are they're the ones telling us about time being different and how we forgot. But this time he forgot. Wait, huh? Oh, never mind. We're both forgetful.
Well, you see... Yeah, that's right. Hey, don't worry about it, okay? We found you, so that's all that matters.
I could only nod before looking at the ground. It was a lot to take in, but at least I wasn't really missing for a day in the human world. However, I was going to be here for a week, so in accordance to the time difference, I would be missing for more than a day. How is everyone at home going to react? I could only hope that something was used as a cover to delay the wedding or the like. I looked up to Matthew, now a bit concerned.
Huh? What is it?
What happened while I was missing? Matthew frowned a bit and rubbed his head, running his hands through his fluffy hair as he spoke, staring at his knees.
Well, when you didn't come with the rings, we got kind of worried and tried to call you. When you didn't pick up, we kind of panicked, but Irene and Iridessa decided to rush over to the house to see what had happened. They came back, saying you were gone. We pretty much scrambled to use our magic to wipe everyone's memories, reschedule everything, and use the time to find out what happened.
Great. Matthew pressed his lips together, most likely remembering what he felt during my absence. Matthew pressed his lips together, most likely remembering what he felt during my absence. I felt bad, but there was nothing I could have done to stop it. Matthew shook his head and continued.
I guess we have to thank Simon for finding you. Without him, we wouldn't have figured out what happened.
Dude, Simon's a boss! Here I was dissing him. Simon? Matthew nodded before stuffing his hand in his pocket and pulling out the infuriating stuffed animal. Simon blinked a couple of times before looking up at me and giggling like he usually did. Okay. Simon? Simon jumped from Matthew's hands into my arms and crawled up onto my shoulder, becoming immobile like a doll once he settled between my neck and shoulder. I gave his head a little pat before looking back to Matthew. Well, he was the one that hid the rings. I had to find him.
I know, but after you were taken, he helped us pinpoint where you were, and bam! Here we are.
Matthew chuckled a bit as he ruffled some of Simon's fur.
I guess this little fur ball was useful after all.
Yeah, right? Could you imagine if we told him not to, like, keep it? What was it? Like, he was going to destroy it in the first game or something, right? Or something like that, and then we said we want to keep it. Could you imagine if we didn't? They probably would have never known. I could only smile before leaning over to kiss Matthew's cheek, making him gasp slightly.
Huh?
What the frick? Hee. At least you found me. Soon, we'll be able to go home and get married like we planned. It gave me a little hope to let the thought sink in. Despite the terrible situation we were in, we would soon be able to go home. I was positive we would win this war and everything would work out just fine in the end. Matthew seemed to agree, nodding as well with a smile.
Yeah. We'll go home soon.
Great. Matthew wrapped his arms around me and nuzzled the side of my head, making me softly giggle. My body felt relieved to have him near me, causing me to wrap my own arms around him. My heart was jumping with joy regardless of the situation we were in. Simon took to the cue, okay, to hop off my shoulder and quickly skittered across the floor and up the fireplace. Man, don't fall in, my dude. Resting on it with the decor and sat upon it. Matthew, however, soon released me and fell back onto the bed, feeling its softness.
Man, it's been so long since I felt a demon bed.
A demon bed. Okay, well that doesn't sound dangerous. What's the difference from a regular bed? Matthew grinned up at me and crossed his hands behind his head, lounging back on the mattress.
Well, demons don't sleep in this world, so we get very comfy beds just so we can lay back and relax on.
Wait, demons don't sleep?
Nah, we're too paranoid that people will kill us in our sleep.
That's terrible. So it's not that they don't need sleep, it's just that they don't sleep because they're too paranoid about it? What the fuck? Then how the heck do you function?
Energy and food. As long as we have both, we can pretty much be awake 24/7.
Awesome. A part of me was curious on whether or not he liked being in this world more than the human world, but I had to remember, he went to the human world of his own accord. Besides, he was ready to marry me and live his entire life in my world. Matthew stretched out and let out a groan before relaxing back on the bedsheets, letting out a small yawn.
Oh, I'm tired. You want to hit the hay?
You just said you didn't sleep. I nodded, feeling exhaustion run over me, causing me to lie back and cuddle up to Matthew, nuzzling into his shoulder. He chuckled before wrapping an arm around me.
I love you so much. I promise we'll get home soon.
You best. I smiled, kissing his cheek before closing my eyes and drifting to sleep. Tomorrow was going to be a long day. However, as I opened my eyes, I found myself not looking at Matthew or in my bed, but I felt cold ground beneath me. And something tightly wrapped around my neck. Oh, what the? This thing again. I looked down, seeing my skin dusty and dirty. What the fuck? Which only added more confusion. What was happening to me? I reached up and gasped once more as I felt a familiar collar around my neck. A chain dangling from the front and running behind me. I instinctively grabbed the collar, trying to pull it from my neck, but as I did, something yanked the chain connected to it and caused me to fall back, knocking the wind out of me. I turned my head to the chain pull to see a familiar imp demon glaring down at me and gripping onto my chain. It was the same imp demon from the vision Matthew showed me when Diana came around. But how could this be? I quickly grabbed the chain and tried to yank it from his hands, wanting to be free, but found no strength to actually pull it out of the imp's grasp. The imp merely cackled and pulled the chain again, making me fall forward onto my stomach. I froze. This was another dream, and I could tell that Matthew was going to be the villain once again. My mind began to panic as I scrambled up to my hands and knees, looking around at the predicament I was in. I was in a large steel cage. My chain hung out between the bars in the hands of an imp guarding my cell. I had no neighbors, nor did I hear anyone else in the space with me. This was definitely a dream, and I needed to wake up before Matthew came around. Who knew what he would do with me? This was a dream after all. I looked around the room, slowing my breath and trying to think logically. What could I do? The first thing was to do something about the chain around my neck. Then I could try and break the door down somehow and be free. Seemed like a good idea. Seems like the only idea, dude. I quickly grabbed the chain again and swiveled on the ground to be on my bottom. Locking my feet against the door and pulling the chain back, I managed to get some purchase, and luckily, the imp couldn't manage to pull me forward from my struggle. Whoa! A large bolt of red lightning suddenly traveled down the chain and shocked the collar around my neck, causing me to release a soundless scream. My body became electrocuted in red light and energy, sending waves of pain through every part of me. As he finally stopped, I let out a gasp and fell back onto the ground, shaking from the aftermath. My body felt entirely jittery, and licks of pain brushed over my nerves from the shock. What the hell? I could barely look over at the imp from the pain I was feeling, seeing him smirk at what he had done. However, as soon as I saw the grin appear on its ugly lips, a foot jammed into the side of the imp's head, causing it to buckle over. Damn. What the frick?
You fucking pig fawn! What did you do?
Oh, you're here to save me. My eyes glanced over to see Matthew in his demon form, glaring daggers at the fallen imp with his foot jammed into his cheek. As he looked at me, still angered with a snarl across his expression, I gasped, seeing the familiar cold gold color over his eyes. The evil Matthew had returned. What? He just saved us, I think. Gingerly, Matthew took up my chain and pulled me to the door, leaning in and keeping the chain beneath his head so he could bring my head as close to him as he could without me being pulled against the bars in the door. Staring into his eyes, I was surprised to feel calm and almost hopeful that maybe this was a different Matthew, one who wasn't cruel and full of ill intent. Then again, he kept me in the cell and didn't release me, so that was a sign that I was wrong. Despite this, he spoke calmly and almost comfortingly.
Did he hurt you?
Of course I nodded. Friggin' whatever electrocution the imp had done made me feel like I was dying for a split moment. Matthew, in response to my reply, glared at the imp with a deadly pair of eyes, causing the victim in question to sleek back against the wall.
I ordered you not to hurt her. If she's hurt, then she can't give me proper energy, and I won't be able to rule this world properly.
Well then.
Do you know how much of a problem that would be?
Oh jeez. The imp opened his... What happened? The imp opened his mouth to protest, but as soon as he did, Matthew formed a knife in the air and chucked it into his open mouth. Dang! A splash of blood erupted from behind the imp's head as the knife embedded itself into the back of his throat. With a gargled whimper, the imp slowly collapsed to the ground, dying at last. I, however, could only watch horrified with my hands over my mouth. What was going on? Matthew turned back to me and pulled my chain slightly, causing me to look back at him with fearful eyes.
There. Now he won't hurt you anymore.
Fabulous. Problem solved. Why are you doing this? Let me go. Matthew's face slowly shifted into a cold, sadistic glare.
I would. But how will I know that you won't run away from me?
Ew, dude. I began to... Are you wearing pants? Hold the phone. What is it, H? No, you're not. And you have a Ken doll, Ween Piece. Alright. I began to panic, wanting to be free. I wanted to run, but Matthew here wasn't going to let me go, and I didn't want to stay in the cell any longer. Despite every fiber in my body wanting me to awaken, I couldn't. Ew, make me your queen. I would say this, but he's probably not gonna believe us. Let's just say this one and see what happens. This was crazy. He had me as a prisoner, a slave to his whim. However, he seemed to care enough about me to kill someone for hurting me. It was worth a shot. Matthew, however, let out almost a bark of a laugh.
Me, king of the demon world, marry a human? Like hell I will. Besides, even if I made you a succubus, your energy would be wasted.
Oh, damn. My heart broke into pieces, but my anger flared. This was not my Matthew. I gripped to the bars and snarled through them at my captor, imagining the man in front of me as a stranger and not as the man I loved. What's wrong with you? Let me go! A violent cackle erupted from Matthew as he leaned close to me, pulling my chain harder to pull me against the door.
That's okay. Get angry. You know what they say. Angry sex is always the best.
And he says this with like just a fucking happy ass face. gross, man. This is what I'm talking about. Listen to the way he talks. It's the most dastardly thing ever, I swear. But, yeah, I don't know about that, my dude. I snarled even harder, disgusted at his words. This was not the man I loved, nor would he ever be in my dreams. Matthew only let out a chuckle as he finally drew back and slid his hands up to the end of my chain.
I'm not in the mood to take your energy now. I'll come back another time.
Okay. With a flash of blue energy, the chain in his hand vanished and reappeared above me, giving me enough slack to let me lie down, but only if I was directly underneath it. I grimaced and pulled at the chain, wanting to still be free from it, but only heard the chuckle of Matthew's cruel sadism, what the fuck, as he turned and began to walk away.
You better be prepared when I get back. I've got a world to rule after all. Can't spend all my time making sure you're ready.
If that means what I think it means, that's pretty fucked. A violent quake ran through my body and I began to struggle harder, making him laugh as he left the hall out of my sight. Let me go! I shut my eyes tightly, pulling and tugging as much as I could, despite it being to no avail. I screamed once again, this time breaking the illusion around me and waking up at last. Let me go! Oh my god. I sat up screaming through the air as my hands clasped themselves around my neck. My scream reverberated throughout the room, barely letting me notice Matthew falling out of bed beside me. I quickly looked over at the sound of a hard thump on the ground, seeing Matthew's curly head peek out from over the side of the bed. His hand ran over his hair as a pained groan escaped his lips. Oh my god! Ignoring what had just happened to me, I scrambled across the bed and slid off the bed to kneel beside Matthew. Luckily, he wasn't badly hurt, but he rubbed his head, obviously disorientated from falling out of bed. To add more insult to injury, Simon had crawled down from the mantel and began to poke at Matthew with his mini knife. Dude, Simon, what are you doing? Thankfully, the knife wasn't actually sharp, so all it did was prod and poke at Matthew's skin without drawing blood. This dude's a little dick, I swear.
Simon!
Oh,
Simon, knock it off!
He's just messing around, dude. Matthew flailed his arm, almost knocking Simon away with his hand. Taking the hint, Simon jumped onto the bed and began to hop around on top of it as his own distraction while I looked to Matthew. I'm so sorry. Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm fine. Oh.
Don't be a bitch. At least you don't have transparent nipples. Matthew grimaced, stretching his back and neck before shaking his head and looking up at me, slightly bleary-eyed from sleep.
Are you okay? Or did you have another nightmare?
I looked down at the ground between us, remembering the nightmare I was trapped in. I could only nod, pressing my lips together, causing Matthew to frown.
I'm sorry. Do you want a hug?
It's almost as bad as him asking if we want a cookie or some shit. Yeah, sure. Let's have it. Despite the nightmare, I still loved Matthew and needed him. Yeah, of course. Well, if we lost love for him, like just because of a nightmare, that's pretty weird. I still loved Matthew and needed him with me. I knew the dreams I was having weren't real, and even if they were trying to warn me of something, Matthew was still the man I was going to be married to. The man I was going to be. What the fuck? We're like convincing ourselves? Matthew smiled softly before swiveling onto his knees and hugging me to his body, laying my head on his shoulder. I wrapped my arms around him and closed my eyes, taking in his reassuring scent. We're always sniffing this dude. What's going on? We barely smelled anyone else. Now we're sniffing him only. As a set of knocks appeared at our door, however, Matthew and I shot our heads in the direction of the sound.
Oi! Time to wake up. We got grub.
Hopefully it's not actual grubs.
Ugh, can you not call it that?
Yeah, thanks. Matthew and I looked at each other before scrambling up onto the bed, forgetting that Simon was on it. I slid across the bed and sat down, trying to make it seem like I had just woken up, as Matthew tried to crawl under, but wound up making Simon release a heavy squeak.
Ah!
What happened? Once again, Matthew fell off the bed and landed on the floor, releasing another shout of pain.
Is everything all right in there?
I think Simon just stabbed his wing piece. It's okay, James.
We're fine. We're fine.
Simon cackled at Matthew's mistake, scrambling up back onto the fireplace mantle and became a doll once more as I cleared my throat. Come in. As the door opened, Matthew threw himself onto the mattress, placing his head on his hand like he had completely planned to kneel beside the bed as his brothers and their wives entered with plates of food in their hands. Damien and Twyla, the ones who were carrying extra plates of food, stopped and stared at us with raised eyebrows. Damien, of course, looked over at the mantle at Simon before smiling and shaking his head, passing his extra plate to Matthew.
Thanks, bro. You're welcome, Matthew.
Here you go.
Oh, thanks. Twyla placed her extra plate in my hands and smiled before walking over to an empty space with Damien and eating. On the plates were sliced fruits, bread, cheese, and some sort of jerky. James and Sam, however, were the only ones who didn't start indulging at what was on the menu.
So, we have less than a week to prepare for the Demon Lord.
You know, fuck me. I'm excited as shit to finally get to kick his ass into the ground.
This isn't your playthrough. The other brothers seemed to agree, even Matthew. However, I was stuck on the nightmare I had the night before. I unconsciously rubbed my neck, remembering the feel of the collar around my neck. Doing so caught Iridessa's attention.
Hey, what's wrong? Did you hurt your neck?
Maybe I just slept wrong. But thanks for the concern. I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. I instantly looked up and stared, seeing everyone now look at me in curiosity. What if we just slept wrong and we had a kink in our neck? I shook my head violently, not wanting anyone to know what had happened. I'm fine. The wives seemed unconvinced, but they nodded anyway. The boys, however, focused on the battle ahead of us.
So, do we plan on training like we usually do?
That seems to be the best plan. It's been a long time since we've actually fought in a battle.
Have you fought in one before?
The boys, despite the shame in their eyes, nodded slowly in unison.
Part of us living in our father's castle involved receiving the occasional unexpected visitor.
Holy crap, man. I remember one time there was this group that just stormed in and tried to take on the old man, but he sent James to take care of him. I'd never seen James so pissed off before.
That's because they threatened to burn the castle down if I didn't surrender. Obviously, that was out of the question.
Well, Sam, what about you when you got into those fights with the army generals? They weren't too happy about you being so testy with them.
They got cocky and thought they could push me around. Fuck them and good riddance.
Well, the more I listened, the more the battle stories seemed more about James, Erik, and Sam. Damien obviously stayed out of fighting. But what about Matthew? I looked to Matthew, seeing him simply eat his food, staring down at his plate. Did he have nothing to add to the conversation? Why not? Let's ask about it. Matthew looked up at me in surprise, a piece of jerky wedged between his teeth and lips. Huh? I fought back, giggling at the sight, but as everyone turned over and looked at Matthew, I relaxed a bit and waited. I was curious to see if Matthew had any stories of his own to tell. To my surprise, Matthew swallowed the jerky in his mouth and shook his head.
No, I wasn't the fighting type. Never have been, really.
My mind flashed back to him fighting Malix and how he managed to not only duck and dodge Malix's gun, but also make Swiss cheese out of the devil in question. Why would Matthew lie? Well, maybe he had to, maybe if he doesn't want to fight, you know what I'm saying? Sam scoffed and spit into the fireplace, okay? Making us all look over at him.
What a crock of bullshit, Pipsqueak.
Bullshit? What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Don't fucking play dumb with me. I remember you massacring an entire gang of Vince because they looked at your mom funny. I was the one who had to clean that shit up.
Oh! I suddenly went wide-eyed at Matthew, who in turn stared right at me with a fearful frown on his face. He got into fights here? I guess it was expected of a demon to at least get into one fighter in their life, but Matthew and massacre?
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't me.
What?
Like hell it wasn't.
Dude, shut up!
Make me!
I will!
Oh! Sam and Matthew jumped out of their seats and marched at each other, slamming their foreheads together and snarling, fire burning in each of their eyes. I quickly rushed up and pulled at Matthew's arm, trying to bring him back to the bed. Matthew, calm down!
Sam, knock it off!
Despite Carrie also pulling Sam's arm, neither of us could pull our incubus away from the other as they battled each other with their eyes. The air in the room became full of tense energy until suddenly both of the boys were swatted over the head.
Fuck!
What the heck is it, James?
Ow!
Both of you! That's enough!
I looked up to see James holding his fist as he used to sock his brother with a glare painted all over his face. Matthew and Sam looked up at their eldest brother, both irritated at being hit, but silent enough to know not to talk back. A moment passed before Sam stood up straight and shook his head, finally allowing Carrie to pull him back to a spot where they could sit down.
Whatever.
Matthew, on the other hand, straightened up and continued to glare at James, almost in defiance. Something sparkled in his eyes, something that made me worried, so I pulled his arm back, trying to catch his attention. Hey, come on. Matthew finally looked at me, slowly receding back to his normal gaze, before nodding and rubbing his head over the newly formed bruise while sitting down beside me.
Well, this is an interesting family reunion.
Frick. Diana's voice suddenly made all of us turn to the door to see her and Sarah in the doorway, with Diana leaning against the archway. As she pushed off and stepped in, Sarah followed and closed the door.
Can we help you?
Possibly, if you all want to survive this war and go home. Especially you, my dear.
Diana looked over to me and crossed her arms under her bosom. What did she mean? Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, you all obviously need to train.
Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked to me.
You, most of all.
Alright, so this is where basically we're going to choose our trainer. I did not ask for what trainer you guys wanted me to do this time, so maybe I'll pick... I wonder who I want to pick for this time. Well, you know, actually, I'll let you guys decide for next time because, again, this has been also Erik and Matthew, so I do apologize for their kind of for us not going as far as we normally do. But we also had to finish up Erik's playthrough as well. So we are going to end it here. Let me know which trainer you want for next time. I'll be going specifically to this video to see what you guys want. Again, I think we haven't done General. We have not done Faye. We have not done Rabbit. Technically speaking, I got to go back and do that other girl, Meredith, or whatever her name is, for not choosing any trainer at all. But last time we did do Shadow, which is pretty interesting. Really interesting. I wonder what... I mean, General's probably just going to show us how to fight really cool. But Faye and Rabbit probably have some two pretty cool things to do or show us. So let me know in the comments what you guys want for next time. I'll be picking up with this again very soon. Hopefully you enjoyed and all that stuff. Let me know what you've been thinking of this recently. Let me know if you guys are happy that there's another episode, happy that I'm back and everything like that. I'm definitely happy to be back. So, you know, drop whatever you have to say about anything really, about the game, situation, or whatever it is really, in the comments down below. I'll be happy to respond to you guys. So with that being said, definitely make sure you rate the video what you think it deserved. If you did enjoy, please consider sharing the video as well. That kind of stuff really helps me out a lot, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or any social media really, or even word of mouth with your friends. That's really awesome too. Of course, it directly helps me as well as the entire community and is greatly appreciated. So with that being said, if you want to become a Sage in Training, make sure you subscribe today. And as always, this has been Mr. Basie, your favorite Sage, and I'll see you in the next video.